Why does Oprah feel like she still has to have a very loud voice in the culture? And why does she still feel that we're all so interested in everything that she has to say? And when I saw this interview, I knew I had to bring it up with you guys because, again, I think this woman is really out of touch. Her estranged husband is also at the concert, apparently also with another woman. So all of this is going on, right? This is really great to have all of this estrangement and covert operations going on with all these relationships. Like, wow. Like, it seemed to me like all these people had a real quick and easy escape plan to other people at the ready, doesn't it? When Oprah says to us watching the interview, people were united in their judgment, meaning of Kristen. And I feel bad for us as human beings because that's what we did to you. And Kristen says, thank you. Just go away. But no, everyone's got to monetize their pain. Everyone's got to justify their existence. Don't look like you're trying to wipe a fake tear or that you're trying to stifle a smile. It was all weird. She looks too happy at some points. And then at other points, she's trying too hard to look pained. I don't get it. They're kind of getting into the territory into no news headline will go unchallenged. It is confusing. Are you mega monetizers or are you royal? Because you can't have both and retain respectability in the eyes of the public. People want to know what is going on, and they probably don't understand or know how is this being funded, and they don't care. They just don't want them there. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jennifer. I'm so happy to have you for another coffee and chat with me. Today, I don't have coffee, but I have some refreshing water in my super cute little purple cup here. Grab whatever you want, coffee, tea, adult beverage. I just want you to relax. I want you to get comfortable. Hit pause if you need to, come on back because we have a lot to talk about. Yet again, we have a ton to talk about. I know I say that every single week and I should probably stop saying it because there's never a dull week anywhere, anytime, no matter if we're talking about news in the culture, celebrity news, all of it. Today, I want to talk about Oprah with you guys. She's got an interview on her YouTube channel that's gotten over 3 million views with Kristen Cavett, the Coldplay Kiss Cam girl. Remember that story from last summer? We're going to chat a little bit about that. We're also going to chat just a little bit about the interview that came out on the Today Show with Savannah Guthrie. Hoda Kotb interviewed her. Really rough one to watch. And then, of course, we'll segue into the king and queen of delusion, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And yes, they are the king and queen of delusion. No one tops those two. Those are titles that can never be taken away from them. Boo! Let's put it that way. Some interesting stuff coming out of Australia. And I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of the Australians for not taking any guff from these two. So, lots to talk about. Let's get going. Okay, so let's start this little coffee chat by talking about Oprah. I've got my computer here. I don't usually have my computer next to me when I'm filming these things, usually my iPad, but I had so many notes from this interview that Oprah did with Kristen Cavett. She was seen canoodling with her then boss, the CEO of that company called Astronomer. His name was Andy Byron. He has since stepped down as CEO from that company. But before we get into the actual interview, can we just talk about Oprah? Because I have to admit, I was an Oprah fan back in the day when she was on her show in the 90s. And this was a little bit after when she first came on. Because when her show got nationally syndicated in the late 80s, she was a lot more sensationalized back in the day, kind of like the Jerry Springers, Sally Jessies, Geraldos. I mean, I remember watching an episode when I was in the 8th grade, her talking about back then when that whole thing was going on where people were still thinking that Elvis Presley was alive and they were like, hey, I saw Elvis in Kalamazoo and all that. Like she had all those crazy people on. So she used to be a lot more sensational. And then I would say like mid 90s or so, she kind of pivoted and felt like she wanted to distinguish herself from all of that trash talk type of daytime TV stuff. She wanted to be taken more seriously. She launched the book club. She started talking more about like wellness and health and books, and she would have celebrities on. So she pivoted big time. And that's when I think she really, really took off. Fast forward to January 1st, 2011, she launched that OWN network, Oprah Winfrey Network, and it was designed for cable. Fast forward now to 2026, she's since sold the majority of the shares in that company. I believe she only retains, I want to say 5%, and she's kind of like creative CEO still holding that title. But she realized that cable was just a dying medium. No one really cares about cable anymore. Where it's at is streaming. Hence now we come to her YouTube channel. And I gotta tell you, sometimes when I see people like Oprah having YouTube channels, I'm kind of like, yeah, this is a testament to just the normal people on social media. This is where we went. We went to places like YouTube. We went to places like Facebook. All the celebs, all the Oprahs of the world saw where the tide was turning, saw that the medium was going to be streaming, and that normal people, hence you and I, liked to just share opinions and videos and just talk and be on these platforms. Anywho, she's now on YouTube, and this particular video in question, let me double check. Yeah, it's got 3.8 million views as of this recording. It was recorded about 10 days ago. She has the comments off on this video. I don't know if she has the comments off on all of her videos. Let me just take a look. She did a video yesterday that's got 664K views. And yeah, it doesn't look like there's any comments enabled on that video as well. So I find that very telling. I find that very telling that for someone as, you know, such supposedly a media powerhouse as is Queen Oprah, why wouldn't you have comments under your videos to drive audience engagement? Because that is also a very huge metric on YouTube, kind of like how Meghan doesn't have her comments enabled on her Instagram, both of her accounts, right? She doesn't have her comments open on her just personal Meghan account, nor does she have the comments open on her as ever. Very telling. And I just think, again, that Oprah has really done her darndest to try our patience in the realm of trustworthiness. Because here you have a woman who, she just got overly political. She got overly preachy, in my opinion. And, you know, it's been said in articles and on social media for years. I've seen memes about this countless times where people are like, they're kind of tired of her in the way of her preachiness because they're tired of elitists like Oprah preaching to the masses. I mean, here's someone who is constantly speaking to us about relationships and how to maintain healthy relationships, yet she's never married. We all know Oprah has struggled for years with her weight. It was always a topic of conversation. You could always tell that it was a very big sore spot with her. And I remember watching that episode, Oprah with that little red wagon coming out, and it was supposed to represent how much weight she had lost. This little wagon she was pulling out when she was ultra skinny in those super skinny jeans. So she's talked about it ad nauseum, her struggles with weight. And, you know, fair enough. A lot of us do have problems with weight. I myself, I have not been able to lose the last 20 pounds from having my twins for over a decade. And now I'm firmly in, you know, middle age. I'm 52 years old. It's hard, but this is where we are, right? Everyone kind of has their own little struggles. So yeah, we all know she's had her problems with weight. Fair enough. A lot of us struggle with weight. A lot of us do. That is absolutely not something that I am going to criticize her for being open and honest about her weight struggles. But then what a lot of people didn't like was we found out that after she had partnered with Weight Watchers and was still, you know, at least struggling with weight, that she had taken Ozempic and lost a tremendous amount of weight and didn't disclose it right away. And then finally did disclose it in some type of like town hall type forum where she was trying to take away the stigma of Ozempic, in a way trying to defend her taking it. And I don't think so much people were upset that Oprah was taking Ozempic, but they were upset with the fact that she concealed it for as long as she did. So again, there's a lot of things about Oprah that people are just finding questionable, that people are finding preachy. We're just kind of done. We're just done with the whole thing. Personally, I don't even understand why she has a YouTube channel. It's just, again, I kind of look at Oprah the way I look at Meghan and Harry. You have more than enough money for at least 2 lifetimes. Go out and just live privately. Why does Oprah feel like she still has to have a very loud voice in the culture? And why does she still feel that we're all so interested in everything that she has to say? And when I saw this interview, I knew I had to bring it up with you guys because, again, I think this woman is really out of touch. And in my opinion, Oprah has been traipsing into the territory of toxic femininity for a while. And this interview that she had with Kristen just proves that, because there's a lot of people in the culture, and Oprah's one of them, that I feel rail against traditional Christian value, that rail against the idea of a traditional loving nuclear family, that rail against the idea of the sacredness of marriage and the marriage vows, and in having children within a traditional marriage culture. And with this interview, you know, any of us that watched that Coldplay Kiss Cam video from last summer could see what it was. It was two people who were technically married to other people at the time. And that's why it was embarrassing, because they knew they were caught. They were cheating on their respective spouses. Now, as we'll see in this interview with Kristen, she really staunchly maintains that she was separated from her husband, Andrew, at the time that she was caught on that camera, that Jumbotron. And I just have to insert this here. I really don't care that she says that she was separated. Separated is not divorced. And as we'll see as I go into it, the timeline of how much time she was spending with this CEO boss of hers at work, I mean, it's obvious to see that the amount of time she was spending with him probably had a hell of a lot to do with why she was separated from her husband. That led to the separation in my mind. So it doesn't justify it. She also maintains that her and CEO Andy were not intimate with each other before the Coldplay concert, that what you were seeing on that Jumbotron was the first time they had ever been physically intimate, holding each other during that video. So keep that in mind as well. But still, I have a lot to say about that as well. But what I have here in front of me on my laptop is excerpts from this interview. I would love to play little snippets for you and comment as we go along. But Oprah is really big on copyright, and I know she wouldn't stand for that for a second. Least of all, someone criticizing her and this interview that she did with Kristen. I'm going to read to you some excerpts, and then we will discuss as we go along. And I really feel like both Oprah and Kristen are going out of their way to make excuses for Kristen's behavior. Now, I want to preface this by saying we all sin, we all make mistakes. But what is damaging here is I find that when people in the public eye are making mistakes and making big mistakes in front of the world, rather than, admitting what they did, apologizing and moving on, that everyone is really going out of their way to not only not apologize for what they've done, but to explain what they did, to try to rationalize everything and to save face, as if saving face and your reputation is more important than actually admitting what you've done and atoning for it and speaking out against the behavior, saying, look, this was wrong, learn from my mistakes. This is what it did to me. This is how it damaged me. This is how it damaged the people involved. And it, make no mistake about it. It didn't only damage Kristen and that guy, that Andy Bryant that she was fooling around with, but we'll get into that because Kristen has things to say about that. But it not only damaged Kristen and Andy, it also damaged, I feel, everyone that watched that video, everyone that watched it. Every little thing like this kind of does chip away at morality and good traditional values and what should be here holding up society. This was a moment that Kristen could have taken to really say, this is wrong and here's why. But instead, she chose it to make it all about, well, these were the circumstances and I was misled and here's the thing. And, at one point, Oprah's like, yeah, we all collectively all watched the video and judged you and, harshly at that. We judged you and we all just basically convicted you in the court of public opinion. And, I feel sad for all of us as a society doing that to you. And I want to apologize. And I'm just like, okay, take a sip. The crucial part that people didn't know, Oprah wants to tell us, was that you were indeed separated from your husband at the time, right? Like we all didn't know that at the time. So that was the little point that Oprah was making sure to drive home when Kristen starts telling us about this incident. So Oprah says, I want to let you take us back to the night of the Coldplay concert. So then Kristen says, yes, great question. I'll go a little bit into that. So Kristen starts and says, 4 or 6 weeks prior to the concert, my husband and I decided to separate, and we're living apart and planning for a divorce. Now, 4 to 6 weeks is roughly about a month. So keep that in mind. She was caught on this Jumbotron a month after she's going to separate from her husband, who's also named Andrew, by the way. So don't get confused there. But a month is not a long time. Okay. And apparently she got together with this man during COVID and had been married to him for about or a little under 2 years. So keep that in mind as well. So yes, she says that her husband and I decided to separate about 4 to 6 weeks prior. They're living apart, planning for a divorce. Now, the guy on the Jumbotron with her, Andy Bryan, again, also named Andy, he was the CEO of that company, astronomer that they both worked at. She says, Andy Byron and I had a very close working relationship. And for anyone that's in tech, it's a startup, they'll understand that the chief officer, we all work side by side around the clock. It was a high demand startup. We're together, we're spending a ton of time together. And then she says it was during all of that her husband Andrew and her had separated. Okay. What do you think about the fact that she's telling us she's basically working night and day at the company with the other Andy, the CEO Andy? Do you think that might have been a factor in the separation? Probably. And they're spending a ton of time together. And then she says, Andy and I had gone out to grab sandwiches during the day, and he had asked me what was going on, meaning in her relationship with her husband, Andrew, that she was separating from, and, asking her what's going on. And I said, well, my husband and I are separating and planning a divorce. And then he immediately let me know that he was in the exact same situation and that him and his wife were living apart, that they were planning for a divorce, and it had been many years in the making. So that really, for her, she says, because I'm continuing reading her words from the interview, that was a really instant connection for us. And over the next few weeks to a month, it was a place that was really great for me to be able to just get to, him and talk about what she was going through. It was a good, safe space for him as well. And he was a great friend for her to talk things through. Red flag, red flag, red flag to me. There is a really famous line in the movie from 1989 when Harry met Sally, and the argument in the movie, Harry and Sally are arguing, can men and women really be friends? And Sally's arguing, well, of course, yes, they can be friends. And Harry's saying, you know what, there's always that sexual tension element when a man is friends with a woman, and that apparently he always wants to go to bed with her no matter what, whether he finds her attractive or not. If there's an emotional connection, there's always going to be that element of that tension there. And Sally doesn't agree. I happen to agree with Harry. I didn't always agree with Harry. I was always a little bit more naive throughout my 20s and 30s. Now that I'm in my early 50s, I do know better. I mean, human nature is going to be human nature, and that's why you don't put yourself in these types of intimate positions with people who are not your spouse. That needs to be said there. It's just, you could be completely on the up and up, but that doesn't mean that the other person is, no matter how much you think that you know them. You have to account for human nature, is all I'm going to say. So, and that's why you just don't disrespect your spouse by putting yourself in that situation. But so she's basically said that they're spending tons of time together, and not only that, but they're talking to each other about the breakdown in supposedly both of their marriages, which also, again, is not good. That's an emotional affair. That's a stab in the back to your spouse, to each of their spouses. So I guess supposedly the CEO, Andy, was saying that, it had been a long time coming, years in the making, him and his wife, that they were separated as well. And then she's talking about that he was like the friend that was going through something she was going through, and that's why it was so comforting and good for them to talk to each other. And then Kristen goes on and she's talking about how through talking about their marital difficulties, they built a stronger connection. And she also says that she had assumed that he had been married for a long time. She just assumed that all was well with him. So leading up to the concert, apparently at that point, they started talking more and more about personal things and kids and how it was going and all of that, in addition to all the busy and frequent work conversations that they were having. And she says that they were having more lunches. And she says, quote, "It was a really familiar, safe place to talk about what was going on. And it's just so much easier when someone else is in the same experience. We could share and then we developed feelings for each other. We were attracted to each other. Yes, absolutely." Now, Kristen's words. So what do we know? We know that 4 to 6 weeks before the concert, she's separated from the husband. Okay. And she's also talking about in all the lead up to the separation, she's working practically, it seems like, 15, 16, 17-hour days, very closely with this CEO. And they're getting more and more and more personal. They're crossing more and more emotional, intimate boundaries with each other. And we all know that emotional intimacy leads to physical intimacy in these types of cheating workplace relationships. It was a combination of feelings that had developed over the course of 4 to 6 weeks. So it sounds to me that, in my opinion, the relationship that she was forging with this Andy Byron guy at work, that led to the separation with her husband. I mean, the timeline matches up completely. The closer that she's getting to Andy Byron, the Andy at work, the CEO, the closer she's getting to him, the more estranged and distant she's getting from her husband, Andrew, at the time. And that's when they had decided to separate. So to me, the timelines are meshing. And then she says a little quip in the interview and she said, "I loved Coldplay, but that kind of ruined it for me. Not the biggest fan anymore, ha ha ha." And I'm thinking, leave Chris Martin out of this. It's not Chris Martin's fault that you were out canoodling with this guy, but that kind of irked me. But anyway, at that point, when she decided to go to the concert, her and the CEO work, Andy, were talking like 10 times a day. It was this huge connection. At that point, she was acknowledging that they had feelings for one another. And that she says, also, it was becoming apparent to me that we were putting ourselves in a situation where it was going to get risky from a work standpoint. Because she reported to him. And she says, it's my role. Someone has to actually be aware of this, things like this happening at work and, flagging this, because as someone working in HR, she's the one having people reporting to her if they see relationships and things going on in the workplace that are dicey, that could affect chain of command, treatment at work, all that. So she realizes the hypocrisy and she's getting closer to this guy at work. He's her boss. She's in HR herself. So she acknowledges that. And then she says at one point that her and CEO work Andy had to sit down and have a real conversation about it. And she says, "We had to figure out a plan for this because these feelings were real. This wasn't like a fleeting thing. And we decided that we have to have a plan together. And we wanted to propose to our board of directors that we wanted to change the reporting structure, meaning that she would no longer report to him." So all this is going on, and then she gets the invitation to go to Coldplay. Now, it seems to me that one would reason, listening to Kristen describe the situation at that point, it seemed like her and Andy, CEO Andy, were getting serious about one another. I mean, it must have been serious when you've got the CEO of this company and her wanting to go to the board to talk to the board about, hey, this is what's happening because this is getting sketchy, this is getting dicey. And another thing I forgot to mention, if this is getting to the point where both of them want to go to the board of the company to change the nature of their working relationship, remember, she had said that they had no physical contact at all prior to the concert. Yet they were discussing amongst the two of them that, hey, we got to go to the board because this is super serious and we have to change our working relationship at work. I really, really doubt that they would have reached that point if they had not become intimate with each other. That's just my opinion. So then she's talking about going to the concert. She's talking about how her daughter was messaging her saying that her stepfather, husband that she was separated from, the other Andy, that he was also at the concert too. So then I guess Kristen knows that her estranged husband is also at the concert, apparently also with another woman. So all of this is going on, right? This is really great to have all of this estrangement and covert operations going on with all these relationships. I'm thinking to myself, wow, all these three people are really moving on, and they're moving on really quick. So you just separate from your husband a month earlier. You're at this concert with your boss, the CEO, this Andy Byron. He's supposedly separated from his wife at the concert with you. And then Kristen's husband, whom she's separated from, is now at the concert with somebody else. It's like, wow. Like, it seemed to me like all these people had a real quick and easy escape plan to other people at the ready, doesn't it? Why can't you just stay home? If you all are in a separated mode from people in your marriages, why is the natural inclination just to go out and have fun with the new person that's been waiting in the wings? I never understood people like that. I guess there are people like that, right? There are people that always have an escape plan, that they just jump from relationship to relationship to relationship. They can't be alone, God forbid. They can't be alone and just concentrate on their children and their families and grieve the ending of a marriage for whatever reason. No one really looks at marriage as a covenant anymore in this culture, as something sacred. Let's call it what it is. That's why people are behaving like this. But still, it's like, even if you don't ascribe to any religious ideas about marriage or the idea of the sacredness of marriage, why is everyone just so like, okay, this is over, on to the next? It's just, I don't know. It's just, and these are people in their, 40s, 50s, whatever, acting like this and carrying on like this. It just seems like they're all behaving like high schoolers. But anywho, so then she's talking about the Jumbotron. Her initial thought was, oh my God, Andrew's here, meaning her husband that she's separated from. And my second thought was, oh my God, I'm in the arms of my boss. This is really bad. This is a really bad look. Yeah, everyone assumed I was horrified because it meant somehow I got busted. Like, that is not what was happening. I felt like those two reasons were big enough for me in that moment. They were really horrified. Okay. Well, she had the reaction that she did. And also the CEO, Andy, he ducked down completely out of frame. Like, she put her hands over her face, turned around and was like, ah, and he just completely ducked out of frame. Why did they do that? Yeah, she's just giving herself away here. They did it because they knew that he was a CEO and she was the head of HR. And it is a really bad look. And it is a really disingenuous, selfish thing to do in front of the people that you work for. And also in front of America. That's a larger issue. We'll get to that. But it wasn't about, oh my gosh, I'm cheating or I'm still technically married. Her first thought is, oh no, this is going to harm our status and our place in our work environment. She's like also trying to make a point that she's not a Jumbotron girl, that she's just a shy girl anyway. She would have just been horrified in that moment had she not been with Andy or not. Fair enough, but if you're going to be a private person, I don't understand why she's even sitting with Oprah in the first place. Apparently, this woman, Kristen Cabot, has now started the speaking circuit. Like, she's going out and giving speeches about female empowerment and how she was bullied over this instance on social media. And yes, we can get into that too, because there was a lot of really, really nasty, hateful bullying toward this woman. People were getting really, really mean, telling her to unalive herself, telling her all these type of horrible things. And that obviously is crossing the line. People just go to all kinds of horrible, dark places. That's not kind at all. But, the people that were outraged, they have a right to be outraged. And she also talks about in this interview about how she thinks that she became the poster child for angry women everywhere who looked at her and saw the woman that their husband had cheated on, that ended their marriage, that disrupted their lives and broke up their families. And rightly so, because that's exactly what it is. This is what happens. People cheat, families break up, and who are the victims? The real victims in all of this are the children. And it's really sad because what people aren't considering is the effect that all of this has on the children in these families. I don't know what it's like for Kristen's children, but obviously the guy that she was married to for a little under 2 years, He is not her children's father. So she's been married and divorced already once before. And I'm not going to pass judgment on her just because of that. I mean, that's the reality for a lot of people everywhere. So she's not even separated from this guy for a month, and she's out with this guy. And then the kids see it on social media. And then her first reaction is, oh no, my status at work. And the same thing that the CEO guy was thinking. They're not thinking about their spouses, in my opinion. They're not thinking about their children. They're thinking about how this is going to affect them. That's their bottom line. That's why I take issue with Oprah basically chastising America on this and chastising America's reaction to what we saw. Yes, again, there's no reason or explanation for the really truly nasty troll people that are telling her to unalive herself and all that. That's completely and 100% out of line, no question. But passing judgment over what we're seeing, sometimes passing judgment on something is exactly what needs to happen. Because do you think that the breakdown of traditional values over the last 70 decades in not only America, but all over Western culture, you don't think that that contributes to everything we're seeing out in the society today? The drug use, the broken families, the violence, the just society in turmoil. It all goes back to the destruction of the family. So when Oprah says to us watching the interview that, she says, people were united in their judgment, meaning of Kristen. And I feel bad for us as human beings because that's what we did to you. And Kristen says, thank you. And Oprah continues to pontificate in her wisdom to all of us. And she says, we were all united in the judgment of whatever it was you were doing or shouldn't have been doing. And we could all actually agree on that without knowing your story behind the story. Well, in Oprah and Kristen's eyes, because Kristen was, I guess, separated from the husband, that excuses all of this, that excuses all of this. Now, it has since come out, Kristen has said that she has severed ties, even friendship ties with this CEO Andy guy, because apparently he's still married because he was seen in public. The last time I believe was in December 2025 or November 2025 out with his wife. Her name is Meghan Kerrigan, who has been seen out with her, and they're both still wearing their wedding bands. So this guy probably was lying to Kristen about the fact that he was separating from his wife. He wasn't separated from his wife. So, this is a tragedy. It is a tragedy. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter that you were separated from him a month before. Not really appreciating Oprah and Kristen chastising and schooling us for the right behavior, in my opinion, that people had and the first negative impression people had on this whole incident, because this incident just is a little snapshot of everything that is wrong in society. People don't recognize or honor the sanctity of marriage anymore. Apparently, they don't really care about the destruction and breakdown of families. They might in the aftermath of what they've done. Who knows? Maybe she is remorseful for what's happened and is doing everything she can to work with her kids and help her kids work through all of this, because I'm sure her kids caught a lot of crap and a lot of heat for the way that her mother was behaving. Let's hope she is working through that, and I'll pray for her in that sense. But what I don't appreciate is them coming back to us, trying to make us feel like the bad guy, because we do have an immediate, instinctive, and visceral reaction to what we're seeing. Sometimes judgment is a good thing, because collective cultural judgment is what can snap people back into place, to put people, shake them and put them right again and remind them that this isn't right, this isn't good. It is entirely acceptable for people to not be nasty about it, but to have a reasoned, informed opinion on why this is wrong. And just the fact now that this Kristen woman is going out and doing the motivational, feminist, empowering speech circuit, to me, it just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth, because she talks about she was a private person. This whole jumbo thing, Tron, horrified her. She would have skulked away had it not been her CEO with her. Fair enough. But so if you're a private person, then why this now? Why are you talking to Oprah? Why are you speaking and doing the speaking circuit? I'll tell you why. Because she's surrounding herself by these toxic, female empowerment type personalities who are telling her that she can monetize this and she could turn it around and she can twist it and she can make us feel like the bad guy. And she could point out that people that were watching and commenting about why this was wrong, that we're the bullies, that we're the ones that were making her life a considerable and veritable hell. Yes, she made a mistake, but everyone that is even talking about it, we're sitting in judgment, and it's a bad look. And no, actually it's not. It's you running around trying to justify immoral behavior and then trying to make a buck off of it, trying to make a speech about how you're going to take back your power because you were bullied online for something that you did. And she can explain it away and justify it, 10 ways to Sunday about how she was separated from her husband. In my humble opinion, you were only separated from your husband for a month. And moreover, that marriage was 2 years and under? It was a very short-lived marriage. What about your children? What about your children that had to deal with not only your first divorce, had to deal with the breakup of this second marriage that was very, very short, and now having to come to terms with the fact that you're at a concert canoodling with your boss? They're going to probably hear about it. They're going to have their questions. They're going to wonder. They're going to be worried and upset and really, really have to go through some things. And, what we're really concerned about, though, is going on Oprah and justifying the behavior. I think when stuff like this happens, what's the good and honorable and right thing to do is just, if you're going to say anything, just release a statement. This was wrong. I apologize. It was never my intention to harm, even though you did. But just leave it to something simple like that and then just go away. Just go away. But no, everyone's got to monetize their pain. Everyone's got to justify their existence. And what do we have? We have kids at the center of it, her kids. Probably that CEO's got kids too, right? His kids left holding the bag, left dealing with all of this. And before anyone comes for me in the comments and tells me that I'm being way too hard on Kristen and not the CEO, Andy, I think they're both at fault. I think they are both 100% at fault. Even if they didn't get physically intimate with each other, they obviously were cheating on their spouses because they were carrying on an emotional affair. Now, I don't know for sure if CEO Andy told Kristen that he was separated from the wife. She's acting weird about it in the Oprah interview. She basically said something to the effect of, well, I'm not going to speak for him, because Oprah asked her, did he tell you he was separated or not? And she's like, well, I'm not going to speak for him. I don't want to take over his narrative the way that my narrative was hijacked. Okay, whatever. Well, who knows what the heck was said between them, but it's either here nor there, because they were carrying on as if they weren't married, basically. They both were separated. They both were cheating. And even if there wasn't any physical things going on, it was an emotional affair. But honestly, you know why I'm not as hard on Andy, the CEO, as I am on Kristen Cabot? Because CEO Andy isn't out making the speaking rounds. He's not out trying to reframe his narrative and brand himself as this victim the way that Kristen does and is doing. It seems like all she cares about is how she's perceived and her reputation, not really working to save a marriage or just dealing with all of this in private, which is the respectable thing to do. No one needs to know about any of this. We don't need to know. And at least the CEO guy, he probably did the hard work. He did the hard work he needed to do behind the scenes, go to the wife, apologize, say that he was wrong. Who knows what's going on in their relationship? Maybe they're working to repair it. Hopefully they're keeping their family intact. Great. But he's not going out trying to brand himself and make money on the speaking circuit, is he? Kristen is. Kristen is the one showing us very plainly what her priorities are. And right now it seems like her priorities are branding herself, making money as a speaker, and going on Oprah, getting attention, calling herself a victim, and letting us know that we're all evil, hateful people for judging her online. Okay, anyway. And you know what? I'm feeling pretty bad for Kristen buying into this whole Oprah thing, buying into this idea that Oprah can help her to justify her behavior, that Oprah can take this negative and spin it into a positive, and that this is what's empowering now for Kristen. And then you have Oprah, who's been building a career for decades on capitalizing on people's pain, their tragic stories, their tragic human experience stories. She's going to monetize it. It's just the whole thing. The whole thing leaves a really, really bad taste in my mouth. It left a really bad taste in my mouth watching that when it first played out. And now even more so watching these two trying to justify it and trying to justify it on a platform that's getting 3.8 million views. And who knows how many of these 3.8 million viewers are watching this going, yeah, all these people judging Kristen, how dare they do that? And it's just like, sometimes if it's reasoned and it's right, judgment is okay. If it's done in a charitable yet morally correct way, can help people turn their lives around, can help people see that what they're doing, what they're involved in is wrong. And her trying to save her tarnished reputation isn't what's important and isn't what should be at stake here. It's just the fact that what she did is wrong to her husband that she's now separated to her kids. Also, the message that's being pumped out into the culture is that she's a victim now. That's the wrong message. This whole thing is just terrible. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments about this interview. Did you even see this interview? I don't know. I've just really, really had it with Oprah. Really had it. Anytime I see her name involved in some type of story or some type of anything, I have to stop the eyes from rolling in the back of my head because I'm not really interested in Oprah moralizing and preaching to us, because Oprah doesn't stand for, in my opinion, anything that I ascribe to. And even as it relates to this thing that she's now pushing on her YouTube channel, she did this whole segment about how this no contact phenomenon is really catching on in the US right now, where people are just fed up with family members that they just, for whatever reason can't get along with, don't agree with, this and that. So they have just established no contact rules. They just will not speak to, look at, be in the same room with family members. And I'm thinking to myself, that's also very, very destructive. I can't think of anything more anti-Christian than to completely cut off family members. Now, I do acknowledge that sometimes there are serious grievances within a family, and there are serious reasons as to why sometimes family members don't speak. There are ways that you can mitigate that. You can forgive, but still not really maintain an active relationship, kind of forgive, release just for your soul and for theirs. Fair enough. But just watching that one, it just seems like a lot of these people, because say, for example, they don't like who a family member voted for and they're arguing about politics, then they figure that that is a justification for completely trashing a relationship with a family member and never speaking to them again. And again, she's never been married, so I don't want marriage advice from her. She doesn't have any kids. I don't want kids and family advice from her either. So why is she going out encouraging people to break ties and never speak to their families again? It's all very toxic. It's all very toxic, and it's all, in my opinion, demonic. And it's all trying to destroy the family, trying to break God's model of heaven on earth, which is the family, which is the husband and the wife and the children. And in that, it mirrors the Blessed Trinity. And that's why I really think that this is all demonic, because there's so many things out in the culture that are serving to destroy that beautiful family model that God gave us. And especially when you have people like Oprah pushing you to break ties with family members and never speak to your family again. Who is she to encourage people to do that type of thing? Who is she to pump that type of poison out? And every time I see her, like I said, rolling my eyes, wondering, when is her influence gonna stop? I mean, isn't she pushing 70? Again, she's got more money than she knows what to do with in how many lifetimes. We don't need you pushing this garbage out in the culture. And I'm glad that even though she's got a YouTube channel, that she feels that she's in a position where she has to insulate herself from criticism. That's how you know that the clap back against Oprah and these types of ideas that she's pushing out, that the clap back is real and it's getting louder, and she doesn't want to listen to it and she doesn't want to handle it. But that is all very, very, it's a good sign. It's a really good sign. No, there is nothing here that I'm going to take away and think that, wow, that was a new way to think of something, or wow, this is personally enriching in my life. Absolutely not. I would rather go on YouTube and watch a Roman Catholic priest give a homily on the sanctity of marriage and the family, or watch a documentary about ancient Rome or the ancient Britons or something. You could be entertained and learn something at the same time. Not this drivel, not this drivel. To them, spirituality is just all about, the church of what's happening now, the church of myself, the church of endless self-introspection to the point of just such frivolous triviality. It's like, at what point does it stop with you and start being focused outward? If you're going to push no contact, if you're going to push every single excuse for immoral behavior and for cheating and all this out, and turn it back on other people and try to justify your identity, your self-identity and your thoughts and your actions, it's like, at what point does all that garbage stop? And you look at other people and how your actions affect others. She's built a brand on self-introspection, and she's built a brand on what I feel to be just selfishness. It's all about the self with this woman. She's just, she used to be the cult of personality. She isn't so much anymore. And I think that so many more people are now waking up to that. They're waking up to, it's not just about us and our own selfish self-interests. Because when it does turn into just all about the self and selfishness, society suffers, and society suffers in a really big way. And this is not the way God wants it for us. This isn't the plan that He had for us. All of this division and all of this self-introspection to the point that you're continuously hurting others and you aren't really seeing the magnitude of your actions and how it affects not only the immediate people around you, but how it just trickles down into society and then corrupts the society. I know I'm kind of getting a little deep here, but it's just, I think people like Oprah are responsible for that. They are responsible for the just dismantling of what's good and pure and honest and true with traditional Christian value. Not a way to live, not a way to live. And more so now as I've gotten older, it becomes more and more apparent when I watch people like Oprah, when I watch people like this Kristen lady. They're making it all about themselves, and it's all meant to deflect, and it's all meant to put the blame on others and just further this little narrative they've got going on that it's all about empowerment and the self and this and that, and it's just exhausting. It's all exhausting. And in my honest opinion, I just feel really bad for people like this, and these are just the type of people that I pray for, and I hope you do too. So moving on. The Savannah Guthrie interview just hit the Today Show. I don't know if you guys saw this interview. It's gut-wrenching to watch, absolutely gut-wrenching. Savannah is crying through practically the entire video, and my heart just goes out to this woman. And when she's describing what she feels her mother probably went through, is just, it's so painful to watch. And I found myself tensing up and tearing up watching it, because we found out a few things in this interview that we didn't know before. And the things we find out are just really sad and disturbing. Savannah believes that her mother was taken out of her home, obviously in the middle of the night, taken out of her bed in her pajamas, no shoes, no medication. And she also talks about how the back door in the house was propped up. And we all know about the blood spatters on the outside of the front door, but then she's also talking about blood spatters on the inside of the door. But just that visual in your head. And Savannah's like, the terror and the horror that her mother must have felt looking up at someone standing next to her bed and being forcibly taken from your home. She can't even fathom it. And, like, Savannah's mind won't even let her go there to that point. And there are certain points in the interview where Savannah is kind of blaming herself. And it is really sad, saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She relays the story of talking to her brother, telling her brother what had happened, and they're trying to put their heads together, like, what is this? Why is this happening? What is going on? And Savannah even says that she said to her brother, is this because of me? Is this because of me? Because her head just went there automatically, because she is a public figure, because she is worth a substantial amount of money. That's why she said that to her brother. And her brother was apparently like, I don't know, sweetie, but maybe, probably. So, this has got to just be the worst time in her life. And of course, a child's going to feel guilt in this situation. I mean, if you have a heart and a soul, there's no way that you couldn't. You rack your brain thinking, what could you have done differently to not set your mom up for this situation? Now, obviously, we know that it isn't Savannah's fault, but of course, as a grieving child, her mind is just going everywhere. So that was just really, really sad to watch Savannah feel like what her part in it was, when y'all know it wasn't her fault. We don't really know too much more beyond that. Savannah talked a little bit about the ransom notes. There were 2 ransom notes in particular that her family and law enforcement believed were legitimate. She said that there were a few that they felt obviously were not legit. But that raises a lot of questions now. People are like, well, then if you did feel that ransom notes were legit, why weren't the ransoms paid? And there's been some blowback where people are like, Hoda didn't really ask any types of questions that could give the public at least a little bit more clarification into the whole kidnapping and more insights. I mean, I guess I can kind of understand why Hoda didn't. It wasn't so much an interview as it was just, it seemed like Hoda was just trying to be a friend on the sidelines, talking to someone who's grieving. That's just the whole gist I got from that interview. But sadly, this situation, and we're in day 55 right now as of this filming, this situation has been so heavily covered and so publicized and ongoing in the public consciousness that you would think that there would be maybe a few questions that could have been inserted in there to give the public a little bit more clarification, because there are obviously people that say that Savannah and law enforcement know more than what they're saying. Maybe they can't say anything because it would jeopardize the ongoing investigation, all of that. Fair enough. If you're going to just have an interview with Savannah where she's sharing her grief with us, that's fine. But I don't really know why they chose Hoda for this particular interview. I mean, I guess she's been Savannah's replacement since Savannah has been gone, this month and a half going on 2 months now. But I just found Hoda's facial expressions in this whole interview, she's trying so hard that it's bordering on performative, and it just looks so disingenuous. And it's really weird because even when Hoda is asking a really, really awful question, posing a question that's obviously just gonna have a reaction in Savannah, she always has this smile on her face as she's asking the question. And none of it seems genuine to me. And at some points, it almost seems like she's laughing or she's trying to wipe the smile off her face as she's asking the questions. But she's like, yeah. But it's performative to me. And even at one point, she's wiping away tears that aren't even there. And as she's wiping, her hand is trembling as she's wiping it. And I'm looking at Hoda and you don't have a tear. You don't have a tear, but your hand is trembling as you're wiping a non-existent tear. Savannah's got real tears. Savannah's obviously in pain, but it just looked to me like Hoda was trying to perform and match Savannah's level of grief, but you can't. And why would you be expected to, Hoda? And I saw that in the way Meghan Markle was performing in Jordan as well. It's just sometimes these people seem so disingenuous. I personally believe Meghan Markle to be a narcissist, and in my opinion, that answers a lot of questions as to why Meghan behaves the way that she does. I don't know that much about Hoda to know if she's a narcissist or not, but I do know that a part of a narcissistic psyche is to try to appear as if you are experiencing and matching the emotions of the people across from you in order to gain a false sense of intimacy. So it seems to me that Hoda's really trying to mirror Savannah's emotions so as to come across as being caring and genuine. But she doesn't necessarily have to do that because she hasn't gone through that. All Hoda needs to do is just act normal. Don't look like you're trying to wipe a fake tear or that you're trying to stifle a smile. It was all weird. She looks too happy at some points, and then at other points she's trying too hard to look pained. I don't get it. She's sitting in the chair right now as Savannah's replacement. I think it would be good for Savannah if she got back in the chair. I really don't think that Savannah is going to do herself or her family any favors, just letting this thing consume her to the point where she can't continue the rest of her life. Obviously, she's going to be forever changed, but I wouldn't want to let whatever horrible, rotten person or persons did this to Nancy to destroy Nancy's life to be able to destroy Savannah's life and her family's life as well. So we don't want to let those awful people win. So Savannah does need to go back to work, and I think it will be good for her. And obviously, if there are developments and there are things that happen if she does go back, then she can work with NBC to try to figure out what she wants to do then. But I don't know. I just thought that her whole demeanor and the way she was carrying on in that interview was very strange, very awkward, and I just picked up on it right away. Let me know what you guys thought about that one. So yeah, moving on to the King and Queen of Delusion, because as you know, those titles can never be taken away. So we all know that she's got the little wellness retreat going on in Australia that's coming up in mid-April. I talked about that in one of the videos I posted last week. I'll go ahead and link those. But you've heard about the poo balls that are washing up on the beach. You've heard about the fact that the people that spend thousands of dollars to go to this little shindig of hers are going to be forced to share a hotel room, twin bed, with a stranger in a hotel that we've all heard reports in the media right now is undergoing massive construction. So a lot of people are wondering, are certain parts of this resort going to even be fully operational for the guests that they're anticipating? But I don't think they have to worry. I really don't think they have to worry because I really feel that this thing is being pumped up to be something that it's not. It's a luxury, women's only wellness retreat. And apparently it was designed for approximately 300 women. Now, I was on a live on the Victoria Voice channel, and I'll go ahead and link the video that I was in with her. Victoria's Voice, great channel, great gal, love her. And we were talking about it, and I was telling Victoria, I had no idea that it was only designed for 300 women. I thought it was designed for more, but I guess that would justify the price of these tickets. The early bird tickets were 2,700 Australian dollars. That is about 1,900 US. And then the VIP package was about 3,200 Australian, around 2,300 US. And what that gets you, the VIP thing, is front row seating at this gala dinner, a group table photo with Meghan, and a premium ocean room view room, and a goodie bag. But reports are still that you're still sharing that room, even for that high price. And they released pictures of this venue, and it doesn't look particularly special, and it looks very, very small. And what they're talking about is that it's going to be this fireside intimate type of retreat with Meghan, where she's going to kind of like kick off her shoes, curl up with you, and talk about spread, talk about how to make a charcuterie board. I have no idea, but point being, it's like, if you want that type of stuff, just watch her Netflix show. It's chock full of stuff like that. I don't know what she's going to be talking about, but the Australian people are not happy with this. I've always loved Australians. They're so fun. They're so cheeky. And I love this. The Daily Mail is reporting Harry and Meghan condemn 35,000 strong petition demanding no taxpayers' cash is spent on Australia trip as they insist that their pseudo-royal visit is privately funded. So there's actually even more signatures now. More than 35,000. Right before I turned on the camera to film this video, it's a little over 40,000 now. And of course, because they always have to have the last word, Harry and Meghan's team, their spokesmen, have already clapped back to this petition. And they've said, quote, "It's a moot point. The trip is being funded privately. So I'm not sure what this petition hopes to achieve." And they also go on to say, if you wanted to dive into the ridiculousness of this petition as an agenda for spreading misinformation, then one could equally hypothesize that there are approximately 26.5 million Australians, 99.98% of the population, who haven't signed it, who must therefore agree with the taxpayer picking up the tab for their visit. Of course, that is another equally stupid assertion to make. You don't always have to have the last word. I understand, Harry and Meghan, that you don't prescribe to the never complain, never explain mantra. Fair enough. You want to share your pain, share your pain. But they're kind of getting into the territory into no news headline will go unchallenged. I mean, that should really be their motto at this point. It's like, why do they feel that they need to clap back on every single thing? They did it with the release of Tom Bower's book, calling him a deranged conspiracy theorist. All they're doing in essence is putting more negative attention on all of this reporting surrounding the wellness event and all the poop on the beach and how atrociously expensive it is. And now about how the organizer of this wellness retreat is in financial trouble herself. And then, for the book, Tom Bower, he's even saying, it's awesome that they clap back because all they did was push his book to #1 on the Amazon list. It's just, you cannot make this up. If they are trying to invalidate this petition by saying that, 99.98% of the population in Australia haven't signed it. So actually, there's a little something called the negativity bias. And maybe if Harry and Meghan had some smart, astute business people around them, they would let them know about it. And what the negativity bias is, basically in a nutshell, it's that, when people are aggrieved, when people are upset, they are more vocal about it. For example, if you buy a product or you get a service from a business and you're happy with the service, you're happy with the product, you're likely just to enjoy it and go on with your life. But what happens when you buy something or you pay for a service and it is not what is expected? And say you try to work it out with the company or with the customer service of said company and you're not treated well for whatever reason, you can't get an exchange, you can't get refunded, you're treated badly, whatever. People are more apt to go out and let others know about it. To say, hey, I've been wronged here. This product didn't work, or this service was terrible. Here's why. I mean, yes, you've got people that make that a full-time job, and most would agree that those people are toxic and they're just like not nice people. But for the most part, normal reasoned people, if they really do feel like something went wrong, they post a negative review or they speak out about it because they want to help others. So you have to think of it too. For every negative review or opinion that's out there, there's got to be more and more and more and more that are just like it. So for them to completely discount this 40,000 signature petition as being just a moot point and it's just ridiculous, all it does is serve to make Harry and Meghan look that much more petty, look that much more indignant, and they just feel that they are 100% immune to criticism. And also, I was thinking about when they said that it was a moot point, that their security is being privately funded for this trip anyway, so they don't understand the ridiculousness of this petition. Think about it. There is confusion surrounding this petition because of the way that they have been marketing themselves for the last 6 years. It is confusing. Are you mega monetizers or are you royal? You can't have both and retain respectability in the eyes of the public. People want to know what is going on, and they probably don't understand or know how is this being funded, and they don't care. They just don't want them there. And if there are public funds going to this trip, they don't want it. And they don't see that as, wow, our branding is off, our messaging is off, because that's what they think about. They think about money and marketing and branding. And even from that just negative, shallow standpoint. They should be thinking, wow, we haven't done a good job of communicating who we are and what we're doing. It's because obviously people are like, well, they think that they're royal. They still think they're pseudo-royal. So if they are coming over here in a royal capacity, we ain't gonna pay for it. It's just all a confusing mess. That's why these two have to pick a lane. Just pick a lane. And if you want to remain royal, then you have to stop monetizing every aspect of your lives. And that's the only thing that they have been able to do, is monetize those titles and monetize their grievances. That's the only thing that they've been successful at. And that is what makes them look like turncoats in everybody's eyes, is they're trying to remain royal, but then at the same time, they're trying to trash the institution that gives them relevance in the first place.
Boo!
It's just like a carousel of delusion that they just don't want to get off. It's amazing to me. And it's amazing to me how they can just clap back at 40,000 people who want their voice heard. It's not like they said something in a statement to the effect of, we want to assure the Australian public that we are privately funded. There is no tax money being pushed towards this trip. Absolutely not. I mean, if you're going to say something, at least be somewhat gracious and word it that way. But of course, they have to have this arrogant tone to them, this, oh, that's a moot point, and how dare you? You know, it's just all this smacks of elitism, this smacks of arrogance. They have insulated themselves from normal people to the point that they really feel like they're, you know what, don't stink. And they can do whatever we want, and they are above criticism. How dare you? How dare you point out that you don't like what's being done here? Because they're going to clap back and they're going to tell you that's a moot point. How dare you? And moreover, you're only a small segment. You're a tiny segment. You don't matter because of the larger collective. They don't have a problem with it. Well, that's not entirely true, because again, that's where that negativity bias comes into play. Because I guarantee you, if you went to any part of Australia and talked to anybody and said, hey, how do you feel about Harry and Meghan coming to Australia? Don't even talk to them about the tax funded security or whether it's funded or not. Just ask them how they feel about Harry and Meghan coming to Australia. I wonder what their opinion would be about it. Probably not good. Harry and Meghan just need to go away and live a private life like they told us they wanted to do back in 2020. And go and spend some more time with your invisible children. Why don't you go do that? They do an awful lot of traveling away from their children. Their children are in the formative years, and they spend a heck of a lot of time away from those kids. Actually, the only time I can recall, I mean, maybe 2 or 3, but the big one that sticks out in my mind was when they were in South Africa in 2019 and they took Archie. Remember when they took him to meet Archbishop Desmond Tutu? That one sticks out in my mind. But unfortunately, I kind of think that they took him back then because she wanted him close, because he was still her asset that she was protecting while she was still within the confines of the royal family. Now that she's free and she's in America and she doesn't have to deal with palace protocol and being a working member, you notice she never takes those children anywhere with her, wherever they're traveling. And when they're traveling for days, sometimes weeks at a time away from the kids. What do you think that is doing to those kids? And I know there are a lot of people that work and travel for their jobs and are away from their children. I've been in that situation with my husband working overseas because he was working overseas in a place where we as a family couldn't go be with him. But it's like, it's a necessary evil due to the nature of his job to make a living to support our family. But Harry and Meghan are doing all of this voluntarily. And it's all these faux humanitarian branding trips where they're trying to elevate their image. But it's not a requirement. They're not working royals. They're engaged in all of these trips and this propaganda. To what end? They're not spending any time with their kids. I just don't understand any of this. I just wish they would go away. They're not going to go away. That's why we're going to continue to speak up at all this craziness that we see. My message to Harry and Meghan would be, go spend some time with your kids. Go spend some time with your kids. Don't worry about a wellness retreat in Australia right now, okay? Meghan, don't worry about helping your friend Marcus with a grand opening of a Soho house. Don't worry about trademarking as ever products in Australia when you seemingly can't even really make a go of it in the US. Just stop chasing this seemingly, crazy dream that seems out of reach of world domination, because that's not what's important here. That's all I'm going to say about that. So moving on to something a little more lighthearted. I wanted to talk about something that I haven't talked about for a while on the channel, and that is beauty. You may or may not know that I started out 10 years ago in 2016 as a beauty channel on YouTube. I'm a licensed esthetician and a makeup artist, and I just love all things beauty. And I would make tutorials, I would do product reviews, I would talk about skincare, skin type, how to take care of skin conditions and aggravations and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if you've noticed, you may have not, I have skincare protocols that I've written. And what they are is just simple instructions for how to take care of each skin type, whether you're dry, whether you're sensitive, whether you're acneic, whether you have combination skin. I've just got tips and tricks for you, but I keep it very basic and I keep it reasoned to how to take care of your skin and how to cleanse properly, how to exfoliate properly, how to moisturize. I get really into the weeds in those protocols because I love skincare and I love talking to women about how to take care of their skin, because I've noticed as an esthetician, especially over the last decade, the skincare industry and the makeup industry have just exploded. There are so many skincare products out there now, so much confusion out there as to what women need and what they don't to really just take care of their skin and have a good, solid skincare routine. So I go into all of that. And in particular, I really do go into cleansing, how to cleanse properly, how to exfoliate properly, and how to protect your skin. Because I find, and I found that even when I was working in a medi spa type situation with skin every day and giving facials, that those were the two things that I found women really making mistakes and tripping up a lot in their skincare routines. Was they weren't cleansing properly. A lot of them were over cleansing and irritating their skin, and they also weren't exfoliating properly for their skin type. And a lot of people were being very aggressive with their exfoliation. And I just talk about all that in depth, but the reason why I'm even bringing this up is because I haven't done a skincare video in a really long time. I haven't done a skincare explanation video in a really long time. And I don't know if that's something that you guys would be interested in. Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to go a little bit more into what those skincare protocols entail. I'm trying to remember the last video I did where I did a little bit of a makeup lesson. And there was one that I did last summer. You remember when Meghan went on the Jamie Kern-Lima podcast and they were both banging on about how they weren't wearing makeup and this was just, they're just fresh faced and they rolled out of bed. And I did a whole video about they're wearing makeup. They're wearing makeup. It's no makeup, but they're wearing makeup. And just how highly irritated I was. I go into all of that. And then I even show you a little tutorial where I just show you how to do a no makeup look similar to what Jamie and Meghan had in that podcast, because I think they both looked nice. I think they both looked pretty. No, they didn't have tons of makeup on, which is great. I love it when women feel like they don't need to do that. I mean, women can do whatever they want. Wear makeup, don't wear makeup. But my whole point of contention with that was they're obviously wearing makeup. So let me show you what they were doing. So is that something that you would be interested in? Because I know there are a few of you that sometimes email me and they're like, wow, like you have skincare stuff under your videos. What is that all about? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an esthetician. And these are just guides that I wrote, protocols that I'm really passionate about, because I just want to get the message out there that skincare doesn't have to be complicated. It can be super, super simple. And actually, for the most part, when you go to see a dermatologist, when you go to see a cosmetic dermatologist, or a medical esthetician or an esthetician, they'll tell you, keep it simple. The more products you have, the just more complicated and expensive it gets. You don't need it. Don't introduce a bunch of stuff. You're just going to irritate your skin. You're going to set yourself up for problems. And it is true. It's totally true. But the other thing I wanted to show you guys and talk to you about really, really quick, and I'm going to try to make it quick because I know I've been banging on all day here. This is a long one, but I get some really sweet comments. What kind of makeup do you like? Your skin looks really pretty. I love your hair, all that stuff. I have a few things on my desk here that I just wanted to show you, things that I absolutely love. I did a tutorial with these two products about a year ago now. These are the Christian Dior Forever foundation and contour sticks. I absolutely love these two products. They are foolproof. They are beautiful. They are long wearing. They are, I would call it like a demi matte finish where it's not overly drying looking, but it's not greasy or shiny as well, which is wonderful for camera. When you see me on camera, for every 10 videos I make, I would say 7 out of those 10, I am using these two products. So this color that I personally wear, and again, you know, like you may be lighter than me, you may be darker than me, but if you're similar to me, this is the Dior Forever Skin Perfect. I need my glasses, but this color is 2N. This is the color that I use. So this is my all over foundation that I use, and it's beautiful. You can blend with fingers, you can blend with a soft fluffy brush. Both ways turn out absolutely beautiful. And then this is the Dior Forever Skin Contour Stick. And this is the one I use in light. I don't know if you guys can see that. But what's beautiful about this skin contour stick is it's kind of a cross between a contour and a bronzer, in that it's not completely gray the way a traditional contour should be. And it's not overly kind of red gold warm the way a bronzer would be. It just gives light and definition to the face without being heavy. And it's very, very blendable. So what I do is I'll start with the, wait, that's the contour. So I'll start with the foundation stick. This is the foundation stick in 2N, and I'll start with that, and then I'll blend it with my fluffy foundation brush, and I have a ton of them. And then what I'll do with the contour stick is I'll do a little bit just on the top of the cheekbones, like a swipe here, a swipe here. I'll do a little bit underneath the jawline to kind of help with this little turkey deal I got going, maybe a little bit up on the forehead, and then I'll just blend that out with the same brush over my foundation after I've applied, and it's foolproof. You literally cannot put on too much of it. And in a hurry, you can even take a little bit of that contour stick and do it on your eyelids, on your brow bone here, just as a light little like eyeshadow contour, just really, really easy to travel with. Fantastic to travel with because liquid in bottles is a pain in the bum. So if you have a nice stick that you can travel with, awesome. And again, I will link the full video that I did last year about how I apply these products, but beautiful godsend, especially for over 40 skin. Now, I am a combination, normal to combination skin type, but my skin still plays beautifully with this formula. This formula is lightly hydrating. Again, demi matte, not overly matte. I would say if you are normal to dry, you would probably really, really like these two. If you're super, super dry, you could still try it, but I would say really, really make sure that you're really hydrated and juicy underneath before you apply, and just see how it goes. If you find that it's a bit too matte for you, if you're overly dry, this is a great touch-up stick to keep in your bag to kind of touch up during the day. But I think all skin types would really play friendly with this particular formula. All skin needs to be properly prepped underneath makeup with your appropriate skincare and SPF, especially if you're going outside in the sun. Okay, moving on. The other thing that I wanted to show you guys that I've showed you guys, I don't know if I've showed you in the past, but the Kerastase. This is the Kerastase original elixir oil, and this stuff is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. It is not overly greasy. It's almost like a dry hair oil. It smells absolutely fabulous. And what I do with this hair oil is I do a very, very tiny amount, like half the size of my pinky nail, okay? And I rub it together in my hands like this. And what I do every day is I'll just go from the ears down. See what I'm doing? And I'm just basically working it through the hair, to give myself just a little bit of sheen and softness, because I'm lightening my hair now. And I told you guys back in October when I started lightening my hair, because I was starting to get more grays, and although I love the dark hair and I'm naturally darker, it was too much maintenance. You could see the grays poking out with the dark a lot more quickly. So I had done a lot of research on YouTube, and I came across a lot of these videos of women who, as they're getting more grays, as they're getting older, they just go lighter in order to have to deal with it, so that you're not doing as much maintenance at the salon all the time. Or even, heck, I wasn't even going to the salon for a while. I was touching up my roots at home because I'm a licensed esthetician. I could go into cosmetology supply stores and things like that and get Redken color, get Schwarzkopf color, get all that and do it at home. But even that was just becoming a pain in the bum. I didn't want to do it anymore. So when I got here to Germany this past fall, I just gradually started going lighter and lighter and lighter. And that's just what I've been doing. But we all know as you go lighter, oftentimes your hair can get dry. You know, the cuticle opens up, it gets more rough and ragged. And as a result, the hair doesn't look soft and shiny. And this has been such a godsend. Now, it is a little pricey. I will say that. But again, you use so little. And I even got a little travel baby that I'm going to use when my family goes to London and Paris in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to just pump a little bit of this big guy into the hair and travel with it. And it's really nice. You can lock the top so that it doesn't leak. It's just such a beautiful hair oil. Smells beautiful. And if there's a little bit left in my palms, and I just put it on my hands because it smells like a beautiful, expensive perfume. I absolutely love this stuff. I just love it, love it, love it. And what I also love is I can get it a little bit cheaper here in Germany than I can in the US, which is nice. So I'll probably stock up. Oh, the other thing I was going to tell you is this bottle is refillable. This like a little vial that's inside this actual vial, and you like pull it up, and the refill is about 20 to 30% less expensive than just buying the whole original bottle for the first time, and you know, more environmentally friendly as well. But yeah, so that's what I do. And I wash my hair about every 3 to 4 days so as to not dry my ends out. And just like I showed you, every single day, just a tiny little bit, even smaller than the size of a dime, and just, you know, gather your hair, ear down, and just run it through. And then when I do wash my hair, I have a spray and leave-in conditioner, and then I have a blow dry cream that I use, and then I will do a little bit more of the oil, probably about the size of 2 dimes, all over the head to kind of act as a nice glossy heat protectant before I go in and use my T3 hair curler. But yeah, so that's just fun stuff that I wanted to show you for the hair. And then the other few things that I wanted to show you that I really, really love are these eyeliners from Sarah Creole. And I don't know about you, but as I've gotten older, I've really, really had a problem with a lot of eyeliners running and not looking good. And this formula in particular, it reminds me of those gel eyeliners that come in those little pots. And I love those formulas, but what I don't like is how long they take to apply, because you have to have a separate brush to dip into those little pot and to apply your gel eyeliner. But the gel eyeliner is beautiful because once it dries and sets, you are good to go for the rest of the day. There's no smudging, but it's just, you know, again, pain in the bum. And this is one of the only formulas that I have found that really is like a gel eyeliner pot, but without the pot and without the brush. So it's beautiful. And I've got 2 colors. One is a really dark brown espresso, and one is a lighter brown that I use underneath my eye just to give a little definition, because I have bald spots underneath on my lower lashes where I've always had them, even in my 20s. So I just kind of do just a little bit there just to kind of give the illusion of eyelashes. But yes, beautiful, beautiful formula. She's got some really beautiful colors on her website. And of course, a cute little brush if you wanted to kind of feather or kind of blend in your line to soften it. I will link all these products that I'm showing you in my SHOPMY account if you are interested, or if you don't want to do that, because I do make a small affiliate commission. If you don't want any part of that, fair enough. You can always just go straight to the individual websites to try these products. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was a beautiful luxury powder and then a dupe that I found. So I really, really like a really lightweight, talc-free, micronized type of powder that doesn't add weight or dull down my foundation, especially if I'm filming. I don't want to look overly matte and flat when I'm filming, but I don't want shine breakthrough, and I don't want to look like a, you know, greasy disco ball. So I splurged a little and bought this YSL All Hours Hyper Finish powder. I mean, look at this beautiful compact, you guys. I mean, isn't this gorge? And it's magnetic, as you can hear, but you open it up, there's your powder, and as you can see, well used, well loved. And then the little sponge underneath, you see. I don't know if this is refillable. I'm gonna have to try to find out. It would be great if it was, because it's a beautiful keepsake type compact. So this was my splurge, and this is in translucent. Absolutely love it. Do a light dusting all over after my foundation, whatever foundation I'm using. It plays well with my Christian Dior sticks. It plays well with my L'Oreal True Match favorite makeup from the drugstore. Love it. But then I also found from Catrice this soft blur matte airbrush powder, considerably cheaper. I think I got this for, I kid you not, at the DM, I can't get it open, hold on, the DM drugstore here in Germany. I literally think I got this for like 2 or 3 euros. It is so inexpensive, but absolutely fabulous. Just as lightweight and beautiful as this YSL for a fraction of the cost. This one gets a perfect 10. This one's like a 9 out of 10. Tiny bit chalkier than this one. But again, if you didn't try this one and you didn't know the difference and just got the Catrice one, you wouldn't even know. But I noticed just because I have both, but beautiful, beautiful. And you know what? I'm going to travel when we go on our trip in a couple weeks with this Catrice one, because if something happened to this baby and it broke, I'd be really sad. But yeah, I'm going to be happy to take this soft blur airbrush powder and travel with it and love it the entire time. So yeah, that's just some goodies I wanted to show you, just have a little chat. I know this one has been long. Thank you for sticking with me. I'm so grateful for all of you. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe if you haven't. I'm telling you, I just looked at the latest metrics. 70% of people watching my videos and people that return to my videos aren't subscribed. Just hit the subscribe button. It's the #1 way to support me, to give me that little extra boost that I need to keep going and bringing these videos to you. So thank you so much, you guys. I hope you had a good time with me on this one, and I will see you on the next one. Talk to you soon. Bye.